My name is Andy Quintens. I'm the Scientific and Professional Affairs Manager for Bio-Rad's Quality Systems Division. And on behalf of the company, I want to thank you for coming this evening and for enjoying the evening with our very fine panel of speakers. And without further ado, I give you Bob McGonigal, the publisher for CAP Today, who's our moderator for the evening.
Andy, thank you very much. Please feel free. There's plenty of seats here in the front, on the sides, and even at the back. So there's room for all. I want to thank, first of all, Andy and Bio-Rad for inviting me to help moderate this event tonight. It's a real great pleasure for me, and the topic, of course, could not be more important in understanding the impact of poor quality on the bottom line. I remember, I'm old enough to remember something that some of you may remember, a book that had the title, Quality is Free. Does anyone remember that book? Raise your hand if you remember that book. That was kind of a business book. I never really believed that. I don't think there's anything that's for free. I live near the University of Chicago, and I did know Milton Friedman, who famously said there's no such thing as a free lunch, so I can't believe that quality is free either. What I can tell you is, in my opinion, quality is probably the very best investment that any of us can make in any endeavor in life, and particularly when we think about the clinical laboratories with the responsibilities we have for clinical and patient outcomes, and then for economic outcomes, quality is absolutely paramount. So I always think about that title and how I reacted to it. The other thing I'm thinking about most recently is I attended Dr. Szarbo's very famous Henry Ford Lean course at Henry Ford in Detroit, Michigan. Dick and I are very good friends. I had asked him his permission to write up and interview him and his team, and he said, we'll do it only on one condition, that you come and take the course. And so I was very glad to do that. I did that with one of our freelance writers. And the particular quality image that remained in my mind is the very famous film that he always shows in that course of Lucy at the chocolate factory. So everyone raise your hand if you remember Lucy, and she's stuffing them in her mouth and then under her hat and down her blouse, and it's a really, really good object lesson in thinking about quality and getting through. Tonight, we do have a CE credit available through the AACC Accent program. We'll have a handout that you can get at the very end of the program. It'll tell you all about how to qualify for that credit. I do want to now introduce the order of speaking and our agenda for tonight. I'm going to introduce all three speakers. They'll be speaking in the order listed here that you see on the screen. After they're done, we'll ask you to hold your questions and comments. And when Jeff Myers, who's our third and final speaker, finishes, we'll all come up here to the podium, and we'll do questions and answers and listen to your comments, because that's very important to us as well, until we get to 7:30. And we do kind of want to have a hard stop. We know this is a busy week, and we don't want to keep you for an excessive amount of time. In terms of disclosures, I should say that anything that I say here is something that I'm talking about personally, in my opinion. It is not to be construed as a statement of policy or opinion by of the College of American Pathologists. Bio-Rad, of course, is sponsoring this. They want you to know that they have provided our three speakers with honorarium, and those were consistent with all the applicable FDA and AACC guidelines. In addition to that, on behalf of all three speakers, they've allowed me to say that they have no conflicts that they need to disclose at this time, so we will deal with those conflicts disclosures with that statement that they had none to make. So now I want to introduce the topic and the speakers. Lucia Berti is a very well-known expert in quality. You can see that she's a medical technologist certified by the ASCP. She didn't stop there. She got her specialty in blood banking, and I think was one of the very first diplomats in their laboratory management program, if I'm not mistaken. She's also played a very important role in credentials through the American Society for Quality. She's an independent consultant these days and the president of Laboratories Made Better. Perhaps of greatest relevance here, and you'll hear more about this in Lucy's speech, first she helped to lead the revision 2 years ago of the very important ISO 15189 medical laboratory standard. And then most recently, she was the chairholder of the CLSI Quality Management Systems Subcommittee. She's continuing to serve there as an advisor, and you'll hear more tonight from her and others of a very important CLSI publication on quality. After Lucy speaks, we'll hear from Ann Daly, who needs no introduction, I don't think. She's a senior consultant with Kai Solutions and has many, many years and rich experience in diagnostics operations and management, both in the commercial and lab setting and the hospital laboratory setting. She does all kinds of studies for Kai clients. She's a very frequent source for us in CAP Today. We always value when we can get Ann to help us explain to our readers issues of interest. She also is certified by the American Society for Quality, and she's a manager for quality and organizational excellence. She's a Six Sigma black belt, and she also serves with CLSI as the current vice chairholder of the Subcommittee on Quality Management Systems. She's very active in the world of the CLSI documents. And finally, our last speaker tonight will be Jeff Myers. Jeff is a CPA, has recently joined Kai Solutions, where he's the VP of Financial Services and the Chief Financial Officer. He spent over 20 years providing financial analysis and executive level experience in the healthcare industry and helps provide that kind of expertise to the clients of Kai. Prior to joining Kai, he was the Director of Finance for Diagnostic Services at Duke University Health System, where he managed all the financial operations of both the clinical laboratory and the radiology departments. And so with that, let me introduce Lucia Berti, who will be our first speaker. Please give her an enormous round of applause.